Okay.
Press play?
Yeah. So I've been writing about Muslim dating and marriage issues for the last few years, and I wanted a way to be able to showcase the issues that I've been writing about. Last year, I directed a photo shoot titled the Isms Project. I gathered women from across the country in which we highlighted 4 different isms: racism, colorism, ageism, and sexism. And we were really blessed to be featured in Newsweek, Washington Post, and in a video in AJ+. This year, we wanted to tell the story of women battling the stigma of divorce, Size-ism, and Able-ism.
But no, I'm good. Like I want to do this. So I'm representing Divorce-ism because I'm divorced. And it's like been one of the things that have been a struggle in like the getting remarried process. It's been actually the huge thing, and I talk about it on social media as well because so I hope that answers that question. Hi, I'm Kay. I'm 29 years old. I am from central Wisconsin, and I am an entrepreneur.
So for the Stigma of Divorce photo, I had 2 models, 2 different women represent their stories in that photo. And I wanted to set it in the farmlands of Bolinas so that people can understand that women that have been previously married have come into their new relationship with a lot of cultivation, a lot of growth, and that development that they had in their first relationship and in the growth and healing that they did after their first marriage is something that should be valued and appreciated.
It was troublesome. 2.5 years, like of looking, because people would find it problematic once they'd find out I was divorced, or if their family did, cut off. I'm a convert, cut off. Like, I ran into that a bunch of times, but the most common thing was that I'm divorced. I don't want to be with somebody, I want to have a fresh start. I want to have someone who's never been with somebody, even if they were divorced. Like, I've been told by divorced men with kids, I don't want a woman who's been married and has kids, but like he has them himself. So I found that very perplexing.
My name is Shannon. I live in Teaneck, New Jersey, and I'm a registered nurse. I'm a pediatric home care nurse and also a pediatric school nurse. My age is 40, and I have a 13-year-old son. It has been at times very frustrating, I find it very difficult. My son is soon to be 13, and I never see him as a baggage. I see him as a blessing. And unfortunately, a lot of single brothers who have not been married before, they kind of hesitate when they find out that I have a son. They kind of see me as like a +1. So they hesitate because they don't know if they can take on the responsibility. It's a shame because in our Sunnah, in our religion, our Prophet, peace be upon him, he married widows, he married divorcees, he married women who had children, and he treated them very lovingly as like a stepfather role. I had brothers who had children for previous marriages where the children were majority of the time with the ex-wife, to the opposite extreme where I felt like the brother was looking for not so much a wife, but someone to be a caretaker, nanny type figure to his children.
Hey everyone, my name is Yasmin El-Hadi. I am a lawyer, comedian, and former matchmaker. Also a mom and a wife, but who cares? So we have that. We have a lot of just, I think, discrimination and distaste against divorced women. I've felt that myself. Damaged goods. They use that word out loud to my face. Some men who were like serial divorcers, like they divorce multiple women, they keep going on to the next one. But for me, that has definitely been in the minority when I'm talking about the community that I've dealt with. And they'll say things like, I want a girl who's, super, like, I don't want to say it, but like, if she could have like lighter eyes, that would be better for me. If she could just be, like a virgin, that would be good. Like, I really just don't want to marry someone. Like my first marriage, it just like wasn't even a good experience. I just like want to like have a clean slate. They'll say that, a clean slate, as if someone's a dirty slate, if they're in the same exact position as you. I've seen that, but I don't work with those kinds of people, and I'm like, bye, like immediately. So I don't like anyone who has, I think, expectations that I would not respect. But I've had those people. Like, I had a guy who was divorced, and he came to me and he was like, I'm looking for a Natalie Portman. Like, I'm sorry, what did you just say to me? He was like, like a Natalie Portman, that kind of look. And I'm like, why don't you just like find a good person?
Stereotype exists regarding divorced women. And that, of course, contributes to a major distancing of remarrying, even though there may be a ton of eligible divorced women for marriage. Oftentimes men will pass on that and select or choose to remain unmarried longer than to marry a divorced woman. And all of that because of these just socially invented concepts of, well, she's divorced, as if that in and of itself is a category that we need to be afraid of. There's so many reasons for why there could be a marriage crisis, right? I mean, there's a disconnect from children and their parents. So there's either immigrant parents and children that are born in America or in the West. Then there's religious differences, cultural differences, financial differences. I mean, really every category has become now an obstacle.
I hear from many single people who are struggling to find a spouse, from married people who are struggling in their marriages and who are ultimately ending up in divorce. So I think there is a type of crisis, if you want to call it that. It's an easy way to describe the numerous challenges, the challenges that abound for both single Muslims and married Muslims. And, some of the research that I've been engaged in, and like I said, working in the community on the ground, can attest to those challenges.
People think that there's endless choice. I call it, what's behind door 7. Like, you're always thinking like, okay, yeah, I saw door 1, 2, 3, but like, no, door 7 is going to be better. And you're always thinking that there's something else that's better out there, and that because there's hundreds and thousands of choices, when actually what you've done is that because there's all this choice, you've deluded yourself to thinking that there's all this compatibility and everyone is compatible with you. And that's not necessarily true. So like, if you find someone who's compatible with you and they don't fit all of your criteria, like they've been married before, for example, or they have children, God forbid, which is crazy to me, that knocks them out of the running. And that's sad, and I think that's something that we have to push back against.
Yeah, oftentimes women have to feel or have that feeling as Muslim women that they have to settle down or have to make their marriage work because there is no other choice other than being married.
And then, of course, add to that psychological, mental health issues that sort of pile up. And unfortunately, in the past decade or so, the crisis has only gotten worse.
From women especially is this fear of being alone. Because of that fear, they're sometimes considering men who are not necessarily compatible with them or good for them, right? Or good for their dunya or good for their akhirah. Obviously, it's a beautiful thing to be married and to have a partner who can support you in life. But I think ultimately to remember that our relationship is directly with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and my self-worth is just purely because Allah has given me that self-worth without anyone else in the picture.